Right as clients come into the showroom, this wall right here, we have a wall of Polaroid pictures of each of our clients that we take. People take a look at that. They're like, oh, wow, it's pretty cool.
If you started out couch flipping, you didn't necessarily have to do any of that, right? Until 2024.
Once you start kind of looking at some of these different venues of different marketing, ad spend comes into play, hiring workers, that's an additional. You want to focus on the bigger working on the business.
A couch is something that's going to be in your home for 5-10 years. You're going to spend a lot of time on your couch. And so is it really worth skimping?
Instead of focusing that much on the features of all the couches, more so finding out what their pain points are, what exact problems that they're looking to solve are.
If it's more than a side hustle, you should definitely be leveraging reviews.
And I think Hormozy said
What's up, couch flippers? Whether you sell new or used, you are in for a treat. Last year's convention was a huge success, and we know many flippers that didn't make it wish they would've. This year, we're cranking it up a notch. We'll be kicking off the event on Monday night with an opening network mixer. November 12th will be packed with speed networking, presentations, panel discussions on systems, mindset, marketing, social media, data tracking, operations, sourcing, and the future of the couch flipping industry. We'll finish off the evening with a group dinner reflecting on lessons learned. On day 2, we'll have our shop open for visitors to stop by, as well as another networking lunch event, and a I'm a Genius competition where each attendee will submit a topic they'd like to do a short presentation on, bringing value to other flippers. There are limited tickets available, so act fast and take advantage of the early bird discount before tickets sell out.
On today's episode of The Couch Pod, I'm joined by the Cers brothers of Comfy Living Chicago. Thank you guys so much for hopping on today.
For sure. Excited to do a podcast with you. Thanks for having us, Charles.
Yeah, so I've been watching you guys grow for the past 2 years because, pretty much as soon as we got into the game, I kind of caught sight of what y'all were doing, and actually you're one of the first customers on the platform. But how would you describe the evolution of your business over the past 2 years or longer? I think I would love to hear more of the history of how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, we started off during COVID. I was still in high school and everything went virtual with classes and that. My buddy and I, we started a landscaping business. So he had access to a truck. And one night, just looking through side hustle ideas, came across flipping furniture. Next day, tried it out with one couch, small storage unit, resold it in a couple of days for $500 and was hooked ever since. And just started from storage units, garage, grew into a small warehouse, 400 square feet to then about 1,500, 2,000. And now we're right around 3,000 square foot warehouse. And yeah, built a website, overall marketing, and just overall more structured business at the moment. Yeah,
and if I remember correctly, you guys are in the midst of moving into a different warehouse as well, so another step in the evolution of the business.
Yeah, and this was kind of a unforeseen moving situation. I mean, we had, settled into this warehouse, found out, things happen in business that it was zoned residential instead of retail. So only thing we can legally do here is live. So we're still kind of in the midst of, figuring out with the landlord, trying to get some money back from the renovations. But, we'll figure it out, and figuring out what we're looking at it more of as an opportunity to, what's the best strategic way that we can, figure out what are the needs for the next space, look at how this space treated us in terms of overall layout, size, location, things like that. So, currently looking for a new spot. We'll see when that happens, but bright things in the future for sure.
Absolutely. And that's a good mentality to have. You can look at the obstacles that you encounter in your journey as, a setback or an opportunity to reflect and do something new. And I think that's what happened to a lot of people in the pandemic, right? That certainly happened to me. I was living in my hometown. I had a business, it was doing well, but it wasn't giving me the lifestyle I had imagined either when I first got into entrepreneurship. And it wasn't until the pandemic that, I cut that loose. I moved out of my hometown, I moved to Mexico. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship as well. And, that ended. And I think right around that time, even though it was an unfortunate circumstance, like COVID, everything shutting down, it actually created more opportunities. And every time I encounter something similar in the business today, I try to think of it from a similar lens. One door closes, another one tends to open.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've kind of talked about it with you and some other flippers that, majority, just like a lot of flippers started in the pandemic when people were getting their stimulus checks, this and that. Everything was kind of, people were really looking for these deals. Now that that's kind of all blown over a bit, now it's like the real kind of test of, all right, see the the situation and the economy as it is now, because it's definitely different and you have to learn to adjust. We kind of had a nice boom right at the pandemic of the perfect business model for serving the clients then. So I think this is definitely a test now for all flippers to kind of adjust their business model and really figure out like what to do differently now.
It's a great point. And, I think it's not just the force of the pandemic, it's the changes that have been happening on marketplace as well. And so a lot of flippers who were doing really well, let's call it the golden era of flipping like 2-3 years ago, maybe even last year, are having to make adjustments. And, couch flipping was a cheat code for a lot of people to make money. Maybe they're working like a retail job or in a warehouse somewhere making $15 an hour. They flip their first couch and like, oh shit, I just made more money in this one flip than I would have made all week working in this warehouse. And that aha moment goes off. But because the hustle or the business was predicated on Facebook Marketplace, it was a shortcut to earning entrepreneurial revenue. And as a result, I think a lot of people didn't really learn the fundamentals of what it means to really build a business. And that's what a lot of people are up against in this year, especially with the changes in the market, but also the changes with the algorithm in Facebook Marketplace. So,
hey, flippers, are you still managing your reselling business the old-fashioned way? In today's fast-paced market, leveraging technology isn't just an advantage, it's a game changer. That's why we created Ivy Flip, the ultimate app designed to supercharge your reselling business. With Ivy Flip, you can effortlessly source products from Facebook, OfferUp, and Craigslist, all from one easy-to-use platform. Say goodbye to missed opportunities and hello to instant notifications when great deals are posted. Our cross-posting feature lets you list your items on multiple marketplaces with a single click, maximizing your exposure and sales potential. Plus, our AI-powered scam detection ensures you spend your time on genuine listings, not fake ones. Don't let outdated methods hold you back. Embrace the power of technology with Ivy Flip and put your reselling business ahead of the competition. Click the link in the description and get a 1-week free trial of our app now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also a different thing that, my brother have noticed in the beginning when you are doing the cleaning, you're doing every single aspect of the business. In a sense, it's, you're hustling a lot, but it's easier, in a sense. And profitability is definitely up there. Once you start kind of looking at some of these different venues of different marketing, ad spend comes into play, hiring workers, that's an additional. You want to focus on the bigger working on the business, but you got to realize that, taking a business from you doing everything and branching out and taking on more expenses, that's definitely, shift in the business also.
absolutely. Like, for people who are just hustling on Facebook Market, that is exactly what it is. It's a hustle, right? Like, and so you got to be on your phone. You got to get to the deals first. You got to negotiate with the seller and convince them, hey, sell me this couch. I'm a broke college student or whatever, whatever you need to say. And then you end up driving, getting that couch, bringing it back to your storage unit. You clean it, you take photos, you list it, and then you have to sell it and then deliver it to the next person. So that's a very long process to, take a flip from A to Z. But once you figure it out the first couple times, there's not a whole lot of thinking involved. Maybe like, okay, maybe should I buy this couch? But these are kind of micro level decisions within the context of running a business. Whereas like most people starting a business for the first time have to invest a considerable amount of time, energy, brain power to figure out how to make it work. So imagine like your first business is opening a restaurant. Well, you have to have like, I don't know, 50K, 100K in liquidity saved up so you can afford to get a lease on the appropriate space. You got to get all the kitchen equipment. Even if you're the owner operator, that's considerable drain on your time. You have to go like get all the ingredients and prep for the day. Then you need to figure out how you can market yourself and get customers into your store and then like get good reviews. And this is just like this whole process for what you would think to be kind of a simpler business, or at least a more ubiquitous business, something like a restaurant. And if you started out couch flipping, you didn't necessarily have to do any of that, right? Until 2024. And I think that's the change that people are seeing. So it's like if couch flipping is just a side hustle for you, that's great. Keep it a side hustle. But if it's your full-time income, now it's time to consider how to innovate, push things to the next level, and particularly like build a brand. You're not dealing with people transactionally anymore on Facebook Marketplace. They're interacting with you not based on the item that they want to purchase, but because they know that you are like a reputable dealer of used furniture and they're coming to you a little bit earlier in that buyer journey. I think that shift has been hard for people, but you guys were ahead of the curve. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw it coming like last year, or I guess what motivated you before this year to start taking those steps and start establishing yourself as a business?
Our thinking behind it all was just building as much trust as possible with our clients before selling to them. And I think that's what led us to start like the Google My Business, the website, and that. And I think that we just saw when we were kind of comparing of ourselves to other flippers in the area of like what can really differentiate ourselves and what can put more trust to someone to come to our showroom instead of go to another flippers. Because we know that once we get someone in the showroom, it's a pretty high rate of us closing them. Just overall, we have good inventory and do overall good work with it. So it's really like, what can we do to build that trust for people to commit with us? And that was start the Google My Business page with starting to get reviews there, social media, just a bunch of different pinpoints where someone Googles Comfy Living Chicago and they can spend 10 minutes and they're like, these guys are legit. These are good guys to do business with.
Interesting. And one thing I picked up on was when you get someone into the store, you have a high close rate. So it's like maybe when they walk in the store, they came for one item, but they look at it, they check it out, and it turns out like they want something else, right? So how are you like navigating that when like you get a customer in the door? How are you like working with them to try and close a sale?
I mean, every client is different. The easiest ones to, I'm sure all flippers know, the easiest ones to deal with are open and high energy, and you can start up a conversation with them. So kind of what we've realized is that you have to meet each person where they are. Say someone is a bit more timid, then you kind of are a bit more timid to match them, make them feel like you are more like them. Another thing that we've kind of noticed is that instead of focusing that much on the features of all the couches or being so close to the product, where like we know that, oh, it having a reversible chaise is awesome and it having removable cushion covers is awesome, but kind of transitioning from, instead of naming all these features, more so finding out what their pain points are, what exact problems that they're looking to solve are. That is, and then you getting that, the client in the showroom being able to focus on not only the problems that they want, but you get them to tell you, this is my main problem, and then that's the one that you kind of attack instead of throwing a bunch of different features their way. Another thing that we've noticed that helps out us is talking a little bit about what other furniture stores they've kind of visited, like, or even like, hey, have you been searching on Marketplace, this and that. Just keeping these pain points on top of their mind makes them think of, oh yeah, this has been a hassle. I've been to Ashley, Joybird, it's too much. The Marketplace is dealing with all these scammers, but now I'm here, and that's when you do that close. So lots of trial and error, but yeah, that's what my brother is saying, that we're getting much better at closing clients when they do come in.
Absolutely. And painting, giving them that frame of reference. Like, look, you've been on the internet, you've been looking around, been on Marketplace, you went to Joybird, and guess what? We have this Joybird right here. You can buy it from them, $4,000. You can get it from us, $1,500. What'll it be? And do you find that like oftentimes people come in with like, I don't know, they want to spend less money or have a lower budget, but because you're talking to them from this like problem solution frame, that you're able to sell them onto like maybe a more luxurious item because you're appealing to that sensibility?
Yeah, I mean, I think, some clients are very, very set on, I'm not spending more than $1,000. But just the other day, we had a client just like that come in. She was looking to spend between 800 and 1,000. That's also a thing I started shifting. Just like car dealerships they do. My friend works as a salesman. He said the first thing that they get out of the way is the budget, right? Just like, how much are you looking to spend today? If you get that out of the way, and say they do say $1,000, most of our couches are between 1,000 and say like 2,000. I tell them, hey, we can definitely work with that. Most of our couches are between 1,000, 2,000. Keep in mind they're all 50 to 90% off retail price. Would you be opposed to spending just a bit more if we find you the perfect couch? So she came in looking for something that's 1,000, ended up financing something that was 1,600, just because she fell in love with it right away. So it's definitely possible.
I mean, that's a very powerful thing, right? Like a couch is something that's going to be in your home for 5-10 years. You're going to spend a lot of time on your couch. And so is it really worth skimping? There's some things in life you should skimp on, like maybe you don't need, organic milk, just drink the regular milk. But when it comes to the couch, it's like such a facet of your home, something that you're going to be laying down on, spending time with your family, watching a movie. It really can be like this unit of cohesion for the home and the family. And appealing to that sensibility in the sale is like you have this couch that you kind of like, it's in your budget, but there's something that's like a little bit more expensive. It's like your dream couch. And it seems like, especially if you pair that with some financing, you're going to get a higher close rate and hopefully a little bit more revenue per sale.
Yeah, I think also one thing that we've started mentioning a lot and other flippers could probably capitalize a bit more on is the mentioning that we do buybacks, which most of the time gets people a bit more comfortable of maybe stepping a bit above what they were expecting to spend because they know that they have a really seamless option of selling or trading in after they're done with using the couch. Many times renters that sign a lease for just a year, they're wondering, oh, what will I do with it or this or that. So it really gives them a easy way to sell it after the fact, and that kind of we already do that, but mentioning that in the sales process for sure helps people commit to it.
Right. Gives them like kind of a back door. It's like, look, if you really don't like it, then you can always bring it back to us. We'll buy it back from you. Do you have like set percentages, or like how do you determine what you'll buy something back for?
We don't have an exact offer like right off the bat of if like a contract in place, but I mean it would be the same as if we were buying a couch just to resell. We always do a bit more if they're looking to buy a couch, like we offer a trade-in value, or we also when we do trade-ins we also work out a deal with like the free delivery and free removal.
That's really interesting. I mean, it sounds like you guys have taken some lessons from the car dealership model and started implementing it into your business. And that makes a lot of sense. Like these are big, durable items that tend to hold their value over time, not quite as well as a car, or it's not quite as well understood as a car, but it is still that type of investment. And then you guys also have this unique engine in place within your business where you have the capacity to process used inventory and make it available for resale, which, is something that used car dealerships do, of course, and is also a way in which you're differentiated from just a new furniture retailer, right? Like a new furniture retailer, they maybe have a return window, 30 days, something like that, but they're not in the business of hauling out your old furniture or helping you recoup the value in your existing furniture that you want to return. And so that does seem like a unique point of differentiation for the couch flipper turned furniture retailer. And I think it's really, really important for anyone growing a business, building a brand, understand who your market is, what they want, and how you're differentiated from the competition. So it seems like that's something that you guys are leaning into.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just like lots of other flippers, we are definitely getting into the new furniture game, not only new couches, but other types of furniture, just because, as I'm sure as everyone is seeing, it's more set margins, rinse and repeat with the pictures and the marketing, and you have set inventory of things like that. But I think, yeah, us still having that, holding on to that infrastructure of being able to refurbish the ones that, even if it's a new couch that we sell, that we're able to rinse and repeat that one because we know it's a quality couch that we sold, and now that we'll be able to, resell it again, definitely helps out.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreement with you. Like, I think there's a merit to the used couch only model. There's also a merit to selling only new furniture. But I think if you put those two things together, that the outcome can be overall more beneficial for the business and for the consumer. So like if you're only flipping used couches, you're going to get better margins on your couches generally. Like you can buy a couch for 100, $200, flip it for 300% profit. That's very common in the used couch game, but it's not very common in almost anything else in life, right? Like there are very few things in business where you can buy something and then turn around and sell it for 300% profit, not like consistently or scalably. But like at the same, and we just talked about this, it's like it's a lot of time and energy going to collect those used couches and like trying to flip them. And I think that's the reason why we literally over the past couple years have yet to see a pure used couch business doing 7 figures in revenue. And what that indicates to me is that there's definitely a benefit and a need for used couch flipping and the service that's provided there, but it's not inherently a scalable business either, right? It's like it's hard to scale because it's so labor intensive. So if you combine that with some other business strategy, whether it's dealing with like retailer returns, liquidations, or buying brand new, like wholesale by the truckload, incorporating another element to your game can help diversify, and you can draw from the strengths of both, avoiding some of the disadvantages, respective disadvantages as well. So I think, a new model for flipping is emerging and will continue to get elucidated, especially throughout, as this year goes on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think just kind of wrapping it up with like keeping the infrastructure, even if we were kind of planning on also is like, or a note to like other flippers of if you are transitioning just new, it is like good to keep in mind the pre-owned, because you can offer like the returns, or you could also offer a removal for people because you have the infrastructure. And also it doesn't take too much of getting a cleaner on 1 or 2 days a week, even if it is just being really selective on couches that you'll have guaranteed like 300% profit, for example, and you just put them in a corner of the warehouse for the week and then use a drop like system, a Facebook drop group or something like that to drop the new or the pre-owned ones. Yeah, I think that's really something that can differentiate everyone's business from strictly new, because when you get into new furniture, you're dealing with all the new furniture stores, and what difference are you really providing, especially if you're just in a smaller warehouse or a smaller showroom. Why wouldn't someone else go to Ashley's that have 3 floors, a showroom, and huge selection of absolutely everything,
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Yeah, so like you continue to incorporate the used in your business model means that there are value-added services that you can provide to the consumer that can help with the acceleration of sales on the new side. And then likewise, there are like lots of hidden gems. There are lots of really good opportunities in flipping used couches. As we know, you can flip a couch, make 300% profit. You're not making 300% profit on a new couch, right? I think the other thing is that when you're dealing with used couches or let's say liquidation couches, there's a limited supply. And one thing that we've learned with the success and the proliferation of these drop groups is that there's something very interesting about consumer psychology when there's a limited amount of the product that you may be interested in, and then there are other people also looking at that product at the same time, which can get them to pull the trigger. And so I think there's a unique aspect of sales psychology here. The pre-owned and the used couches play really well into.
Yeah, for sure.
So taking the conversation in a slightly different direction, one thing I've admired about you guys is how well you work together as a team. And, sometimes I've been conflicted in talking to other couch flipping partners, and I would say 50-50. Sometimes it goes really well. And other times, like many other business partnerships, there's a rift or there's some disagreement or a mismatch in the level of engagement in the business that inevitably leads to a split. So I guess what made you decide to start working together? Let's start there.
Yeah, right in the beginning, I started with my friend, and then I asked my brother to help out with like moving and like taking pictures and that of the couch right off the first one. And then just kind of as we kept going the next months, I think it just kind of made sense since we were living at the same place, and it was just convenient, and it was always good to have kind of like a backup of if one person couldn't address this, then the other person can take care of it, especially like when starting off and didn't have workers or that, and a lot of little things came up, like urgent things. So it was good to have someone that was like fully invested in.
Another big thing was my brother and I not that his buddy didn't see the potential in it, but we were more so like focused on, all right, how can we turn this into a legitimate business and structure it as so? So we kind of quickly realized, okay, we each need our own roles. And so that's how we kind of divided up of my brother, not a bit more, just his roles are very much operations and finances. And I kind of succeeded in marketing and sales. So those two are kind of the two sides of the business, right? So yeah, we complement each other. Not like we don't ever argue. We definitely do have our differences, but we are able to kind of get past that, each play to our own strengths, and yeah, definitely complement each other and build something better together for sure.
Yeah, and I think the dynamic of being brothers is probably interesting too, because what I've seen with like siblings, some of my best friends growing up, they're these two twin brothers, always fighting. These fuckers are always fighting. Like it could be over like the small, and I think it's just because they grew up having to share things, and so they're always like squabbling over like the dumbest shit. Like this is my, it's like it could be like, this is my ball. Like I'm not saying you guys are like this, by the way, but so like even though they're arguing, it was always over small things, because like fundamentally these two grew up together and they're so closely bonded that like there's like a piece of themselves within each other. And so I find that like even though they're like bickering in ways, that there is a very deep-seated trust and like a bond that you're not going to get with your average business partner. I'm curious if that dynamic ever plays out with how you guys operate.
For sure. To be honest, I think we argue quite a bit. And I think it is like what you mentioned, is it's always like the little things that like fundamentally we are like thinking the same way and all the outcomes are the same way. And it's really just like quite a bit of times it's just the little things of wording on this or that, or how something is set up, or like a plan here or there, that like, I don't know, like remember that fundamentally we're on the same page.
Honestly, I think that's great. Coming from the same household, same parents, same values, right? Same objectives and goals overall, being aligned in the business. Like that's the big picture, right? And then if you have some disagreement along the way, that's probably a good thing, because you're pushing each other to be the best version of yourself, bring the best ideas to the table. And, if you're coming up short in one area, like your brother's going to call you out on it. Hey, like we could do this a little bit better, right? And it seems maybe like that's the kind of disagreement you're getting into. So yeah, and I also find that like the best partners have a healthy division of labor. So like I think suboptimal partnerships happen when you two have the same exact skill set and you're doing the same exact thing in the business, because more often than not you're going to get in each other's way. But it seems like you two have sort of like nestled yourselves within respective role in the business. So what was the process of like figuring that out, and like who should be where, etc.?
I mean, I think we'll kind of, yeah, like my brother was saying, first it was him and his buddy who started off, and then we kind of realized that, I was pretty good at just like talking to people. I've always been a people person, easy striking up conversations. So I would be the one, even when we were in like storage units, who would go out, meet them there, sell the couch. So I've obviously been working on my and bettering my salesman skills and whatnot. But that's how kind of we, divided that up, taking that side, and then also kind of took upon the marketing side, being creative with the types of ads we make. I also run like the social media. So it was kind of just like, yeah, like you're saying, just like realizing what each of us was kind of naturally good at. My brother's naturally good at, setting operations and managing team members, figuring out structures and systems, things like that. He's always been very good at figuring out how do we get from point A to point B, or just make a plan for example, one of your shipments of the Joybirds. What's the plan from when the truck arrives to when we have everything posted? It's kind of been a natural talent that he's always had. So I think we kind of reflected on what we each excelled at, and just kind of went at it, really.
Yeah, I think honestly that's a really great founder split. You have one person, they're going out, they're closing the deals, and that like it requires a certain amount of like chaoticness, like a variable environment. You're kind of like meeting people, you're reading their emotions, you're shucking and jiving, but you're getting the deal done, right? And so your energy is probably going all over the place throughout the day, right? And then the other partner, he's making sure that the ship is going where it's supposed to go, right? Like things are steady, they're smooth, they're running. And so that gives you the opportunity as a salesperson to go out and do your thing, and vice versa, right? Yeah, it is a very interesting question. It doesn't get unpacked enough on the podcast because, frankly, most flippers are solo operations. And what's interesting is that over the 2 years that I've been in this industry, I've seen a couple like co-founder pairs, and generally they didn't work out for whatever reason. I think a lot of the time it's like not really understanding what their respective roles in the business were supposed to be. But nowadays, like businesses I'm seeing do the best in among the couch flipping community are these co-founder pairs. Like the businesses that have been able to get into $500,000 revenue, pushing 7 figures in revenue, are not manned by a single person, but it's a co-founder pair that like does really well together. They're both highly motivated. They have a role within their business. They respect each other. They're making decisions mutually, and they're most importantly pushing each each other to bring their best performance every day. And I know this is something that I've personally been dealing with. Like I had a co-founder at Ivy Flip. Ivy Flip, actually, before we started, doing stuff in couch flipping, we were a financial technology company, and I was not the CEO. My co-founder was the CEO. I was the COO. And in terms of our division of labor, like he was setting the vision and managing the employees and doing CEO stuff. And I was like the day-to-day guy, right? I was like CEO, I'm making sure shit gets done, particularly in like the sales and marketing department. That's also where my skill set is at. But he ended up getting married and they're having a kid, right? He moved out of the city, New York City, to New Jersey, and he just needed more stability than being in the startup was going to provide him. So about a year and 3 months ago, he ended up exiting the business and going back into the corporate world. Like looking back on that was it's been difficult the past year and 3 months trying to build the company alone, because oftentimes like we would just sit and have like 3-4 hour long conversations about what we should be doing in the business. And now it's kind of like all falling on me. And it's funny because like when he was around and we'd argue, sometimes like, fuck man, like I want to kill this guy, but it wasn't until he was gone that I was like, shit, like it was nice to have someone that was actually in the trenches with me to go through this with and have that sort of like emotional and mental support. So I think the fact that you guys are getting along and doing well together, it's highly underrated, and it's probably an aspect of building a successful couch flipping business that more people should explore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is kind of how you mentioned, like being a startup, it's having someone like equally invested as you. It's a big thing. And yeah, I mean, yeah.
So turning this back to you, Andis, like over the years, you've started to really hone in on your sales skill set. How influential, like if you had to rank how important it is to be a good salesperson, to grow your couch flipping business and take it to that next level, if you had to like rank it from 1 to 10?
I'd say, I mean, definitely between 8 and a 10, because, you're going to have all the leads coming in on the best, all your ads working. But if when someone comes in and you aren't able to communicate with them or close them, then all that money is just being wasted. And not only is it sales within for our clients, that's sales when it comes to us partnering with apartment buildings and networking with real estate professionals and local businesses, being able to sell yourself and your vision. I think that is one of the most important aspects of any business you're in. So actually change that 8 to a 10. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very, very, very important.
I do agree with you. And I think not enough emphasis is put on this aspect of selling couches or flipping couches, because once again, people sort of got lazy on Facebook Marketplace, right? And you don't necessarily need to have the best personality or the best sales skill set if you're just selling a couch on Facebook Marketplace, because once again, when you list that thing on Facebook and it's $500 and you make a deal online before you meet up in person, it's kind of like the transaction has already happened. But if you're transitioning into a different scale of business, you're leveling up, it becomes so much more important to, like, as soon as that person comes into your space, that they feel comfortable and that you're being consultative, you're listening to their needs, and you can direct them to the right products and get that deal done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say it's also in showroom, it's more than just talking. It's also like how it's set up, how the showroom is set up, how overall you present yourself and that's also a big difference of flipping in a storage unit compared to a warehouse where you put in some time to remodel it a bit, put in flooring or carpet, and that all helps overall like the sales process. I think it's an important thing to note of how you're representing yourself or presenting yourself to clients.
Yeah, and kind of like on top of that, not only like the space, but also both of us being at the showroom. And during the wintertime, I'm always wearing a button down, nice slacks and dress shoes. Same for my brother, just like presenting yourselves to the clients. That, I mean, sure, many flippers will have heard this, but if you can't show clients that you can take care of yourself, how are they going to trust that you can take care of them? And that's not only how you dress, but I think also being physically fit plays a big role. Personally, I would much rather buy from someone who I can tell they're taking care of themselves, they're mentally sharp, they dress well, instead of like a fat slob in a t-shirt. That might be working for, like you're saying, that someone in a storage unit, hey, here's the couch, you want it or not. But like you're saying, when it gets to the actual business side of things, it's very important to present yourself professionally, for sure.
Absolutely. Dress for the job you want, right? Or dress for the sale you want in this case. My cousin, younger cousin, she was working at Nordstrom, and when you go into Nordstrom, like they have a process. It's a high-end shopping mall and they're selling like designer purses and luxury products, right? So it's definitely a certain niche of clientele. And, one of the first things that trained her on is like when someone comes in, you introduce yourself and you ask them question, like basically a set of discovery questions to figure out like who they are, where they're from, what their interests are, and just to like present yourself in a professional way, even if you're not going to go and like immediately pitch them on an item to like sell them on something, right? It's like being a warm, welcoming presence and being dressed professionally. And oftentimes, as you're shopping at Nordstrom, you become their style consultant. So it's like now they're coming to you, oh, give me some, like, what do you think about this piece, right? And you're helping them in the shopping process. And I think that sort of consultative element for selling higher end products is absolutely necessary because people are not just buying that couch, they're buying into the experience of being in your storefront. I'm curious, what are some things, like specific things that you guys did with your current space? Because I know residential, you renovated it to, try and elevate and create that experience. And what are some things that you're thinking of as you move into the new space?
Well, we can kind of do a little walk around, try to keep the camera steady so we can we'll make it a quick circle. So we have in the front hallway right now for the interview, we kind of set it up. It's not the best right here, but right as clients come into the showroom, this wall right here, we have a wall of Polaroid pictures of each of our clients that we take. People take a look at that. They're like, oh, wow, it's pretty cool. And then kind of walking in, what we are recording by, we had our friend make this mural for us. It's of the Chicago skyline, has a little comfy living thing here, the Blue Angels, us two carrying a couch on top of the CTA train, a couple different Chicago things here. So yeah, when we moved in, this place was not this nice looking. It was the concrete floors. We put in carpet, making it look nicer, painted all these walls white. Also had some nice clouds going here. The lights definitely just add a bit more ambiance. I mean, countless times we get compliments on, this is really like a nice vibe that you've created here. And then that little corner right there, you can see the staging area that we have. So that was right when we moved in. 2-3 long nights, like 48 hours not sleeping. That is definitely one of the most like frustrated we were getting with each other just because we hadn't slept in so long, trying to put this place together. So yeah, I think all the little things definitely add up and give people the experience. I think another quick thing we should note, one of the reasons why, we only started this when maybe we had like 200 Google reviews, spin to win.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we had around 250, but now each time when we have a sale, people like winning stuff. They like doing something, they like free stuff. So we have a little spin to win. So each time we have a client buy a couch or coffee table, whatever it is, do a little spin and we say, hey, would you mind doing a little spin to win if you leave us a Google review? So they do the spin. We have a little QR code where they leave us a Google review. And it's been working like a charm. I'm not saying that they wouldn't leave us a Google review, but that's how we, at the moment when they are most satisfied, they just got the couch, it's right then and there. They're super happy. We've been able to get lots of, I think we're up to 350 5-star reviews now on Google. So I think that's an easy thing that all couch flippers can do something like that.
Everyone should be doing that, like point blank, period, right? Like if it's more than a side hustle, you should definitely be leveraging reviews.
And then we also have another, it's just like for now, we're kind of figuring out maybe it might be a bit different of a way, but we also have a second wheel for our referral program. I listen to some of the podcasts. We talk to lots of other flippers that, say, hey, we have repeat customers or we have lots of referrals coming in, but I think it's the best way to somehow systemize that. So right now we have just like within our Shopify, it's like a referral program called Bixgrow, but that's another QR code that they spin while they're right here. They sign up for the referral program and then they have something to, what we have set up right now is we might be switching it up, but right now they have like if they recommend someone who ends up buying from us, they get $25 and the person who buys gets $25 off. So I think it's definitely important to not only, just say it's great to have people come in and say, hey, I was recommended by so-and-so, but if you have someone, you give them a system of how to refer you and they can also earn something, that's the best way.
I was super impressed seeing that wall of Polaroids. I think that's an amazing idea. Literally the first thing they see when they walk in, here are all my happy customers, right? And just like the overall aesthetic of it is like set up really nicely. So great job with that, guys. Brilliant idea, really. Like that really, I think, sets the tone for someone as they're entering your space. In sales and marketing, right? We talk about lead cycles or customer cycles. At first, maybe they're a prospect, and then they're qualified based on their needs, and then now they're in the buying process, so they're in negotiations. Then they become a customer, and then a lot of people just kind of leave it there. All right, they bought from us. That's it. That's the end of the transaction. And there's so much value to be extracted after someone becomes a customer, where you turn them into an advocate, you turn them into a champion, and it seems like you guys have been very successful at deploying that within your business to get new growth coming in.
Definitely, with just like every aspect of the business, it can be improved, and adding the referral program in the email marketing and just different touch points after the process and during it. Another thing I just listened to, I mean, I've heard a couple podcasts before, but right after the sale, I think sometimes we're just like so happy, like, all right, we got the sale from them. I don't want to ask them for more. Like, I don't know like what it is, but like it feels like it would be like asking for too much, right? But another thing that I think it was a Hormozy podcast where he said, one of his top salesmen, how he does it is right after he closes, he asks directly, hey, could you give me the contacts of 3 to 5 people who might be looking for a couch or a piece of furniture or whatever it may be. That's kind of another step of, okay, now we've asked them for the Google review, but you have to keep in mind they're happy now. If anything, they probably want to somehow repay you for this awesome deal that they got, right? So it's them taking 5-10 minutes to leave the review, sign up for the referral program, and 15 seconds they can name a couple people, give maybe phone numbers of other friends who are moving in who might be looking for a couch. And I think Hormozy said like that guy had 3 or 4 times the amount of sales than the average salesperson in his company. So that specific asking of the contacts, honestly, I haven't started doing, but it's just kind of like a mind block of got to start doing that. So I think that's for sure something that can be implemented as well.
It makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like maybe you're out, you see like a cute girl, and you should go talk to her. But there's just something you're like, damn, like, okay, very cool. So, Edgars, I do want to turn the conversation over to you again. So, we've talked about how we can operationalize the customer process in order to take a customer, turn them into an advocate. I'm wondering what sort of processes you have put in place for internal management. So, like, what are you doing to make sure that your guys are coming in, they're motivated, they're hungry, they're on time, and they're contributing the best that they can to your business? How are you running the business overall from a management standpoint?
Overall, a couple things are that one, for like operation wise, is we have like zones for things. So zones for new couch drop offs, zones for sold couches, and then another zone for like sold couches are a couple weeks away so that they're just out of the way. But when a couch gets dropped off, we would put on like an inspection sheet that mark off what is needed to be done on those couches. And then during the next cleaning shift, we would identify which couches do we want to get done. So let's say it's like these 4 couches. We would put the SKU numbers on we would create a chart and then cross off what is needed to be done. And then from that sheet, we make a schedule. Usually it's one cleaner is on Mighty, the other cleaner is vacuuming, moving, putting on cushions, taking off cushions, washing machine, kind of all the little tasks. So then the Mighty guy, he starts off on what are the couches that can be done without prior prep work of like vacuuming, depiling, or that. And he gets started on those. And then later in the schedule, he has the other task that the other guy is prepping for. So if that is from a couch that has to be vacuumed or whatnot, and then he goes down the Mighty list, and then the other guys filled in with other tasks. That's pretty much like the cleaning schedule wise. And then we have like the operation zone is pretty much fully blocked off by a wall, which is nice compared to other spaces where it's been all like one place, and it's, even though you try to be organized, it can become a hassle and unprofessional for like a showroom to a couple feet away or in the showroom or cleaning with a loud machine. So that's one thing for sure helps out.
I think another thing that we've realized about, kind of like you were talking about, when we started off, we were doing all the cleaning. We know that sometimes it's not fun. It's grueling, it's hard work, bending over, carrying couches. It's a lot. So I'm sure some of the guys listening to this will have some of their own team members, And I think an important skill that we've kind of developed is that you want to, obviously they have to, look at you as their boss and respect you and listen to what you're told to do. But you also have to here and there throw in compliments and recognize them when they are doing well. Even if they mess up on something, it's better to start off with, oh, you're doing this and this well. I think this part could be just a bit better, and showing them that how to do it better, right? And that kind of just frame of mind, instead of just saying you are doing this wrong, let me show you how. That is like kind of like degrading to an employee and a team member, right? So starting off with that compliment, you're doing this well, I think this could be better, and let me show you how. I think another thing of how we've been able to kind of, like you're asking, like keep our team members, motivated on the same page and like wanting to work with us, is that showing that we are willing to do the same things that we ask them to. It's not like if we ask them to do something, it's not something that we wouldn't want to do. We'll go back in the trenches. We'll show them how to clean a full couch if needed. We'll jump back in and help carry couches around. So, and that not only helps keep them motivated and show them that we're willing to do that, but also just being on the floor while still working on the business, being on the floor, being in the circle and vicinity of everything, you pick up on things of like, okay, maybe these tools that we're using aren't the best and they could be better, or this process that we're using isn't the best, it could be better. If you completely separate yourself as you're trying to work on the business instead of still kind of working within it, you can get kind of lost and not be picking up on some of these things.
Yeah, I think another thing is on from the worker end is that also like doing or like qualifying the workers before bringing them on is really important, because like making sure that they're a team fit for the company, and also that it's in their natural like identity or sense of like working hard and like getting things done. Yeah, good work ethic is overall like just their natural identity, because we've hired workers that were like, oh, we just have to teach them a couple things. Like, yeah, maybe they're lacking a bit of, I don't know, like personality, or just overall lacking just a bit of work ethic, but we could teach them to do that. And then you spend 2-3 weeks trying to teach them, but that really was from the start of the interview process that they really weren't even a team fit and should have never even brought them on. So it's like kind of two sided of, yeah, it was like, I guess it's also just like a good reflection of when workers don't work out for the company, it shouldn't be that you failed on something. I forgot like what the quote is, but like it should be that they weren't a team fit, or else if it was your fault, then you have to check in what went wrong and improve the training or improve the systems for the next person, that when you get a perfect team fit and natural identity, that it just moves sailing.
Right. It sounds like you guys are figuring out, or you have figured out, what the culture of the company is now. Like, I was talking to Michael Griffin the other day, and he's been running a couch flipping business almost a decade. And in that time, hired many people, fired many people. Right. And what he said was like, at this point, he can kind of talk to someone for like 5-10 minutes and get a sense of whether or not they're going to fit in. But that probably wasn't the case when he first started out. And there was definitely a lot of lemons along the way. What he said was something like he wants someone that he can hang out with. Right? You're going to be spending a lot of time in this business together, shoulder to shoulder, cleaning couches, talking to customers, whatever. Like, you might as well spend time with people that you enjoy. And the people that I enjoy hanging out with have like similar goals, ambitions, outlook on life. Like, we might have diversity of interests and things like that, but on fundamental things, we're probably aligned. And it seems like you guys are, more wary on what to look out for nowadays than you may have been in the past.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, and I think it just comes with, I think overall, like just through the years of starting a business and that, it's just one of the lessons that you kind of got to go through. Like, you could read all about how to hire perfectly and this and that, but I think you really just need to go through a couple bad hires. And not that we're probably going to have bad hires in the future, but I think it's one thing that you really got to just go through to really learn.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, honestly, this is my fifth company in 10 years, more or less. And the number of people I've hired and worked alongside, it's still one of the hardest things for me. Like, I still haven't figured it quite out. Like, and I think part of it is like the many shifts in business, and also sometimes the kind of people I'm hiring, there's like a level of like technical expertise that is hard for me to evaluate. But yeah, definitely for me, even to this day, one of the most challenging aspects of running a business is figuring out who to hire at what time, and just managing managing that correctly. Okay, guys, so we are about at our hour together. Before we conclude, I wanted to bring up one last topic, which is I know that this year you are hosting the Couch Conference out in your neck of the woods. So the Cers brothers at Comfy Living Chicago are this year's organizers of the second annual Couch Conference. And I wanted to, make sure that we had a little bit of time to talk about that, what that's going to be like, and, basically pitch it to our audience.
Yeah, so we're pretty much taking it from last year, just cranking it up a notch really. Last year was great and speakers were good and networking was awesome, meeting people for the first time. But yeah, we're really looking to crank it up a notch, take it to another level of even more networking. We're all going to have an opening mixer the first night. We're going to have speed networking and then networking just throughout the week or throughout the days. And then our presentations, we'll have some panels, some speaker presentations about all across the board of how to take your business to the next level. Just from operations, sales, mindset, social media, hitting everything off. And yeah, it'll be November 11th through November 13th here in Chicago. Tickets will be on sale. We'll probably be able to link it under this video somewhere with all the other information. And yeah, I think it's pretty crucial to come by. We'll also have virtual tickets, but I think in person is just unmatched. The networking is unmatched with we were thinking about it yesterday, like there will probably be around like $20 million annual dollars in sales from couch flippers in that room and those days. So like nuggets here and there can really transform the business. But yeah, we're excited to host, excited to make it great, and yeah, and if you don't come, someone will in your market will, and they might I don't know, they might out business you.
And, I mean, I know after last year's convention, everyone went home with so many new strategies, and people were posting in the group throughout the event. Everyone was saying, "Oh, I missed out, this and that. Wish I was there." Now this year opportunity. We have a super nice event space rented out. It does have limited seats though, and so we're gonna be having a bit of an early bird special. So yeah, definitely the seats will fill up fast. I know there was a lot of hype, like my brother was saying, from the last one, not wanting to miss out on this one. And this year, now that we'll have even more attendees, every single person brings a unique perspective and unique nugget, that to the convention. So, not only from the speakers, but like he's saying, just from the networking, we took our business from here to here from the last convention, and I'm sure it'll be from here to, here from this one. So don't miss out, limited seats. We'll see you there.
I really want to thank you guys for carrying the torch here. I think it was a little bit up in the air. Is there going to be another iteration? But I think the Couch Conference is super, super important for the community. For me personally, it was very nice to get in the room with you guys. Well, Ivy, let's say me and Ivy, we've been questionable. Like people have questioned our character, etc. But I noticed that like when I was actually in the room with people, there's like none of this hostility, and I felt very welcomed. And in fact, like I've been to, maybe a dozen conferences in my life, and this by far was the favorite conference I had ever been to. Because when you go to a lot of conferences, you have like, people that are just there to party and they're on the corporate budget. In contrast, everyone there, they're paying for it out of their own pocket, and they're really there to make connections and learn from each other. And so there's just this like earnestness in the room that I hadn't seen in other conferences. And everyone's like super friendly and welcoming. I really loved the vibe of it all. Other thing was that to me, I said this before and I'll say it again, it really felt like the birth of an industry. And what is an industry? It's a bunch of people coming together saying like, hey, we have things in common, and these things that we are doing in common, the potential for massive economic productivity and creating value for ourselves, our families, and our communities. And there's a coordination of that, and ultimately a coordinated effort of that happening across the United States and Canada. And so finally getting all these people together in the room so that they can meet face to face and talk and commiserate and share strategies, etc., really, I think, was the beginning of something new and powerful. And, very thankful that there is an opportunity, an outlet for that conversation, that sense of community to carry through into this year as well. So if you are on the fence about coming to the Couch Conference, I personally personally highly recommend it. Ivy Flip will be there in full force, and I think the program is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to the networking.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to Ivy Flip for being sponsors.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, yeah, not only for being sponsors for taking us on this podcast, but if you haven't looked into Ivy Flip, we've been using them, like Charles said, from the beginning. Now they are always helping not only with the sourcing, but we've been using the cross-listing program for a while now, saving minutes on being able to post more inventory. So Ivy Flip has been a game changer for our business. If you have been on the brink or looking at other softwares, give Ivy Flip a shot for sure.
Appreciate that shout out, guys. All right. Thanks for coming on. We'll be in touch soon.